All right. Hi, dudes. Dudettes. Thank you. There we go. I'll find my way. I'll find my way. All right. How are you doing, guys? I'm half asleep. If I'll reflect your energy back at you, basically. I had significant caffeine. I don't know how much more my adrenal system can take, but I will find that limit. But generally, I'm alerted to combat, and if you guys argue with me, that'll be the best thing to perk me up. Okay? So as much as possible, disagree with anything I say. On principle, just as an exercise, keep me honest, keep me working hard through this. Those in the back, I'm gonna pick on you more, just because you're in the back. So, for example, you guys that are in weird seats, you get to sit up front. I don't accept this lounge. Fine, safe. You had your moment in time, but these two guys, you don't get to lounge, right? We're sitting. All right. You get extra love and attention, because the ones in the back are the ones that are shy. All right. So, what do you want to talk about? By the way, it's not like you're invisible, but I'll call you. I'll call you at some point. What do you want to talk about? Money. It's related. So, what is this session about? The 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 Now, this is different than what you founders normally think about. You're very aggressively minded. All you think about is, that's my customer. Give me money today. Growth. Line go up, chart go up. If I grow really well, we are growing this much week over week, month over month. And that will solve all of our problem. We grow fast, it solves, sales cures all wounds, basically, is the approach that we see most founders take. In the early days, this is okay. I just want to know your product works, people like it. But later on, it's not good enough. You pitch to investors, like, hey, this is my deck. They say, great. Here's a list of questions that you need to answer. Here's our DDQs. Please respond to each one of them in full detail. A lot of those questions are asking, why can't customers leave you? Why can't somebody else do what you're doing? Why are you better than your competition? Even if you have an advantage today, why will that advantage stick? How do you answer? How do we defend today? Go ahead. Network effect. What kind of model do you follow that has a network effect? You're a marketplace. Who do you link? Okay. So when you say network effect, which is more important, the buyer or the seller? Which one drives the other? Customer. So wherever the customers are, wherever the buyers are, the sellers will be. Correct? Maybe. That's the hypothesis. We need to prove. If I have the best buying capacity on my website, I'll have more sellers coming, which will lead to more buyers. But ultimately, it starts with trying to get the buyers. And if I make sure that that cycle is virtuous enough, it will work, and my advantage will be tough to compete with. Not impossible, but very, very expensive. You're going to need to prove that, because there are other ways to scratch the fashion itch, and disintermediation is a risk, So if you can prove that you've resolved those two things, great. So network effects. What else? Seeing is believing. They see you or your product.
Product and how the seamless product goes, right? And how can we pinpoint the problem that the potential client is facing? So these cumulative aspects that will landing to the seeing is believing, and he will be convinced at the end of the day to be a potential customer for us.
All right. Let's take that logic, right, to its intended conclusion. Are you married? Yes. Is how long? 12 years. Well done. Is how young at heart, young at heart. So I've been married for about 7 years now. Actually, today is my anniversary. Shit, I need to buy a gift. And I'm here with you guys, so I'm gonna eat crap. I'm gonna eat crap because I'm here. So I'm gonna have to buy something really expensive today. Now, let's take the what's up. I mean, we've got multiple stages, right? The thing is, even if you're early stage, even if you're seed stage, you better have an answer. Maybe you don't have it implied yet. Maybe you haven't applied it, but you better have a future plan for how this is going to be defensible. Because you are pitching. And every time I see your deck, I'm also seeing your competitor's deck. You have yourself in the top right, your competitor has themselves in the top right. You say, oh, I've got all the green ticks, your competitor says, oh, you've got the red X's. So how can we really show the difference? And how can we make it so strong that it's not beyond first impression? So I was asking him about time because with first impressions, with time, you don't see each other the same way over time. It takes a different skill to build that loyalty, that trust, that respect. It's not just that first initial jump. First mover advantage does not always last. That's why we talk about self-defense. That's why we want to make sure that your customers can't get rid of you. The example I always give is Groupon. And it's because when I first came into this industry, it was on the cover of every single newspaper. The founder was on the cover of every single publication as the fastest growing startup ever. Where is Groupon today? All of these are Groupon competitors. This is Groupon stock price. Incredibly fast growth, high utilization, and not just defensible, like the one on the top left, groupbuying.com, will print you a Groupon competitor on demand. You want to make your own daily deal site? Press this button. We'll make you a competitor. That's beyond commoditization. How would that feel? Your product is not just replicated, somebody makes replications on demand. Next level. This is what is in the back of everybody's mind. Is this sustained value, or are we just burning money with the image of growth that will eventually fizzle out? Why did Groupon suck? Go ahead. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. So I was just saying that the bane of most people here, I think you agree, is long sales cycles. How complex it is to acquire customers in the first place. How can we turn that? I mean, I assume once we have gone over that hurdle and have got a customer, is that to our advantage ultimately? Because that client becomes stickier, and as long as you're following that client's journey, the next competitor to come along is going to face the same problem, but then you're embedded at that point. So I guess the thought process is it's difficult enough to get in there in the first place and displace the existing incumbent. Now you're the incumbent. The challenge is to stay there and stay fresh and relevant to stop another 6-month cycle coming along and taking your place.
Work this one. Oh, there we go. Okay. The question is how? Devil's in the details.
For example, Groupon is B2B2C. So they went to businesses and said that they will bring them customers. And at the end of the day, to make it like efficient, it should be your B clients who can see increase in revenue, etc., to keep working with you. And I think, I don't know about the Groupon, but we have same product in Kazakhstan, and most of the businesses, they were treating customers that come with the Groupon ticket like a yeah. So at the end of the day, the customer who went there with a Groupon, he didn't want to use it twice. Yes. So, but if business sees how their revenue increases and how customers keep going to them, I believe it should be businesses who see it and who, like, I don't know, respect it.
All right. So 80% of businesses that used the Groupon never used one again. Why? The Groupon pitch was, instead of spending money on marketing dollars, on Google Ads, give that money directly to your customers in the form of offers. And that will be the best form of marketing. Instead of needing to do straight cash, get a great offer, and that will give you the best exposure, and those customers will eventually know about your brand, know about your product, and retain.
Going from customer did not return because they were going with all these deals from one salon, I don't know, a hairdresser to another to get new discounts.
The kind of customer you attract is a disloyal, bottom of the bundle, cheapskate who will go for the lowest bid possible. Oh, this other place is also offering a discount. 20 minutes away, fine, I'll do the 20 minutes. I want it to be 15 reals cheaper. Those customers were not attractive to the businesses. So your customer base that you cultivated over time were crap. So your ability to say, I've got a valuable list of people that I will funnel your way. Yes, I will see a lot of traffic. It will stress out my employees. And no, most of them will not come back. Go ahead.
Just a point to follow up on what you said. I'm making money for the businesses, so the businesses are going to stay with me. The more money you make for the businesses, the more you become a target. There's this saying that's your margin is my opportunity. Another startup is sitting around, they're like, oh, Portatech is doing really well. They're selling to this many hotels. They're making a lot of money. They're happy. The hotels are making money. They're happy. There's money in this market. I'm going to come and attack. Like the more money you make, the more you become a target.
You gave an example. Say you're now a, mentor. Taqadam was in, Groupon was in Taqadam. And you're saying that their business model as a whole is like BS, right?
I am saying that they don't have the sizzle that keeps you out. Yes. If it was so easy to fix, somebody would have fixed it. Nobody, none of the copycats, none of the competitors managed to solve it. I will tell you that there is somebody who solved it in a slightly different way that I think was interesting, that I didn't notice at first. Most of you are familiar with Barakah, right? What does Barakah do? Food surplus. And I don't like to call it food waste, food surplus. Because it hasn't been eaten yet, it's not waste. I hated their business model when I first saw them. They interviewed here for Taqadam, and with the guys, we were in the room, and I said, I hope they pivot to something that works. I was proven wrong. It already works, just not for the reason I thought. For those that don't know, Barakah is an app where if you're an F&B, you're a cafe, you've got extra food, you can sell it at a significant discount to willing buyers. You reduce your waste, increase the income, you get more customers buying. Obviously, for brands, there's a little bit of risk in terms of, oh, will people just wait for the offers and the discounts? What I didn't realize was it was seen by brands who started to use it. They didn't realize what it was. They came in because of the, the food saving aspect. But what they realized was it's the exact opposite of Groupon, sorry, Cobon in a way. 80% of clients who went in to pick up a Baraka order bought something else. And most Baraka clients went in person. They didn't ask for the delivery. They went in person to pick up their order. They didn't want to pay the delivery fee. Suddenly, as an F&B, you've got more actual customers walking in your door, not another delivery app driver picking things up. It's a nice, refreshing change. Like, get people that are near me buying stuff. I can talk to them. They get to know me, and I pay nothing. I get to use my food that I was going to throw out as marketing dollars. So suddenly in my head, like, oh crap, this is a B2B marketing company that I didn't realize, instead of a marketplace that I was initially thinking about.
It's not only buying, let's say, Cerberus food. Maybe they will complement this, visiting with other staffs. So at the end of the day, the restaurant themselves, they will get more than what they expected from the Baraka.
Go ahead.
Did they actually know that was going to be the strategy, or was it done by mistake?
They would have pitched it.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. My question was, did they say that?
They had no idea. Now they seem like geniuses in retrospect. But every now and then, I believe in a team, and I say, prove me wrong. They did prove me wrong. It is nice. The best part of this job is these happy surprises. When you are proven wrong, and something that you didn't think could work actually works.
There is no regulatory issue with food.
If you would like to invest in Baraka, I'll refer to the team. I'm not here to give you the regulatory landscape.
Going back to Groupon.
But I like that the pharma guys are like, is this SFDA secured?
But going back to Groupon, so all of these businesses are not investable.
Are not investable?
Yeah.
I mean, they all got funding. Groupon got a ton of VC funding. They IPO'd. It just so happened that value was not sustained. And now investors are a little bit more alert.
Right.
Nobody'd seen something like this. The dot-com bubble, but like that was a ton of companies at the same time with the same hype. But nobody'd seen like this entire meteoric rise and then crumble right after. This was in 2013, 2014, guys.
The argument here is defensibility is important for sustainability, I guess, right? And not only but picking up the hype and being investable at the moment. You're talking about sustainability, which is something
you will need to defend it,
right?
Right? Because if you're not defensible, you are a commodity. Wow, you guys really are asleep. A what?
Commodity.
Thank you.
But
wow. Like I use the same with my son. Like I get him to finish the sentence. He usually does a better job.
Thank you.
All right. So if you're a first mover and your answer for why your customers don't switch from you to another competitor is because we have such a great product, we take such good care of our customers, we love and appreciate them, and they look into my dreamy eyes and they fall in love with me, and first, seeing is believing. Once you see me, you believe that I exist. That is a tougher one to pull off. That is what I call the trust me bro answer to this question. Why won't your customers leave you? Trust me bro. Anytime you respond with that kind of thing, know that you're saying, trust me bro. I had somebody say, nobody can do what we're doing because we have the best team. I want you to tell me of any company that when they go to their investors, when they're talking about their competition, they put your logo and say, our product is really good, but our team is worse than theirs. So it sounds the same. You sound like everybody else. If you sound like everybody else, what's the point of saying it? It means nothing. So we need stuff that sounds credible, that sounds objective, that sounds like you've done a fair assessment. We'll talk about a couple of examples. I mean, that appears in due diligence. That is where I verify. I need you to make sounds that sound legit, and then give me a data room that verifies the legitimacy of the stuff.
Thank you. So for seed startups, let's say you have a thesis, a theory on something, you have done some tests to validate it. You seem to have some data indicating, yes, this is the correct approach to it, but you don't have significant data to actually validate what you're saying, this assumption that you have, because it's not enough. In the data room,
Give
what
me
do you
like a
actually...
real life example. What do you mean?
For example, let's say that our product is helping brands liquidate their surplus inventory and sell it. Baraka example is good. And they came up to you with the assumption that, hey, it's not going to make the brand look cheap. We are actually going to raise the average order value. People will love it, X, Y, and Z. But we have done 100 pickups. It's not 1,000, it's not 10,000. So it's not a significant data that will showcase everything in the market. How do you add that in a data room in a way that it's actually backing up the thesis that you have for the investor without sounding that too promising or like you're bullshitting?
I mean, look, I'm not trying to make this a lesson in humility, guys. I do want you to be proud of what you're building and state your thesis as calmly and matter-of-factly as possible. If your product's good, you've got data to show that the product's good, and you're in an early stage, that's what that's what investors at that stage expect. I don't need to see like humongous growth, especially like if you just started, especially if I'm paying a valuation that is, fitting with the rest of the market at that stage. But what people fail to disclose is not why it's good. It's why it's hard for others to be this good. So if we're talking about surplus inventory, yeah, huge problem. I've actually been looking for a company that does that properly, because the know-how isn't on some magical intellectual property, not some R&D. There's a lot of tough pieces in that whole supply chain. How do you categorize it? How do you make sure that they're within a fair valuation range for the customer, not valuation doesn't mean investors. How do you make sure that you have enough surplus inventory that needs to be liquidated, that you've got significant, that any customer that comes on any day can find like these random parcels? It sets up a nice virtuous cycle. How can you be top of mind? Like if I'm talking to you, I'm trying to look at two things. Can you create incredible growth? And do you have the trade secret, like the knowledge in your head for how to handle all of this stuff? Because this is a really complicated operation. Who was it? There was in the news, there was a company that actually died because of dirty diapers. Because part of the things they were selling, liquidating, was diapers used for swimming. So there are, but somebody, when they returned it, those diapers were used. So it was all over the news. Company X sends dirty diapers to this customer. And even though like it wasn't their fault, that's the problem. It was actually the Amazon guy at the warehouse who didn't inspect it. But that company died because of that. Incredible story. Like if you ever want to Google like dirty diaper kills company, you'll find that story. Who's this guy? What? Mr. Chip? Hitler? Come on. NVIDIA CEO, thank you. I was looking for my AI engineers in the room. This is Jensen Huang. He's the NVIDIA CEO. Why is NVIDIA so expensive? People don't want to pay these markups. People don't want to pay these prices. Billions of dollars are going into not having to pay NVIDIA money because it's really expensive. Their margins went up like crazy. They used to sell the chips, and suddenly their margins shot through the roof and stayed there for over, what, 2 years now? Everybody in the beginning said, this is temporary, it's a hype, it'll die down. AMD will come, and people will compete, and other alternatives will come to the market. Yet it's taken a while. Why are they so defensible? What is that important resource?
Important one, because no one else has it.
No one else has it. No one else has what? It's not like they're the only ones who can manufacture the chips. I mean, other people can pay TSMC a lot of money, right?
They 15 years ago, he made the decision to invest in CUDA, and nobody believed in CUDA. And he said, no, it's going to be there, stick with us. The shares dropped, and he kept going. And then when it became popular and needed, he was the only one who had 10 years worth of investment in that. Yeah, so it's current resource.
Exactly. So you've got a decade of work of building on top of this. And people now, suddenly it's valuable. Suddenly you need to replicate a decade worth of work of technologists building upon this, libraries built upon this. And disentangling that will take a lot of time. That's what defensibility means. It also references why sometimes you guys feel insecure and like imposters when you talk about defensibility. If your company was built 3 months ago and you're telling me I am defensible, come on. 3 months it took to you to go from 0 to here. You're telling me nobody can do no human can achieve what you've achieved in the 3 months? I am the special team, the clouds parted and the light shone on me, and I was selected to do the Amazon surplus liquidation marketplace. Yeah? It's not quite there yet. That's why I keep telling you guys, you don't have to be super defensible today, but at least show me how that advantage accrues over time. Go ahead.
Let's say you're a startup, you've been working on your tech for 6 years, but now the sales data isn't showing because you've been spending all the time developing the tech, and you have a tech that everyone else is going to take years and years to develop. How do you show that as a seed startup for an investor that, dude, I raised because I developed a tech that no one can replicate in a couple of months?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question, and it's almost like I planted you there, because my next slide is going to be perfect at addressing this. Maryam, does she have YouTube on that iPad? You have your notes? Because I wanted you to kind of get closer with time after I gave you that first warning to kind of sit here in that front row. But do you have any back problems that make this seat untenable? You have a baby growing inside of you? That's a good excuse. Man, this is how politicians feel. Oh, man. This is the problem. What is this company? Juicero. Why was Juicero so embarrassing? You could squeeze it. It looks fancy and sophisticated on the outside, but ultimately you could make the same good old juice by just squeezing those packets. That's the problem when you tell an investor, I've got years of research. We were all working really hard in the lab. Nobody else can do this. I don't know if what you're saying is legit or this. Because from the outside, I'm not going to hire a PhD on a first conversation with an investor, right? Sorry, with a startup. So I need some validation, and it needs to come ideally from the customer side. Like the customer needs to say, I've been looking for a solution like this. I could never find anything. And when I talked to these guys, it was like magic that they could do this. If you don't get that kind of testimonial, it's not really gonna come up in value. That's fine. That's fine. As long as the customers tell me this is freaking magic. What they're doing is witchcraft. I don't know how they do this, and I benchmark, and nobody else is able to reach the same level of efficacy. And it's purely because of your intellectual property. And you've got clean IP. I don't see like weird stuff in your IP documentation. I don't see you in a legal battle with your university or your ex-employer. Then, okay, perfect. It could work. This is a rare occurrence, but sometimes it happens.
I have seen like big giants or those kind of companies, like not like exact product, but they might be having something similar. So when a customer comes at me and asking like you are an early stage startup, but they have something similar, which is definitely a different kind of product. We are doing it more seamlessly. But what would be the perfect answer to that? I have one, but I want to
So
hear
I'm
your
trying
part
to
as well.
understand the question. I have a competitor that does something that's similar to me, but
Yes.
you do it more seamlessly?
Yes, my product is better, definitely, but they're already a grown company who have been in the market for like bigger time than I have been in the market.
Okay.
And
So-
like raised more funds and in
That's
a
fine.
later
By the way,
stage, stuff like that.
We've invested in underdog companies, companies that have a lead in the market, but we believe that that company, that product has an edge. But it's, in that case, what you're telling me is not what makes you defensible. What you're telling me is that your competitor is not defensible, that you can win their customers over. And if you show me data on how many of your customers, we have one company, for example, in open banking called Spare. And in her deck, when we were prepping for the A round, I had her add what percentage of your customers are switching over from other open banking solutions? Because that number is impressive, I love to feature it. Because she's able to show that with a team with a quarter of the capital and a fifth of the team size, they're still able to win over customers from the bigger incumbents. And these are financial players. So they're very conservative by nature, and they will naturally go for the bigger customers. For B2C, it's more about referrals, viral. I'll need to look at other data. But it's not about you being defensible. That's something you'll have to prove eventually. But if the question is, why is their bucket leaky? So you'll need to look at this content, but with the other lens in mind.
And usually to sell the value, not the product, right? So when we are going to present or pitching to an investor or any potential client. Yes.
I sell the value. I get the person. I convince them I'm right.
To some extent, yes.
But stop. I'm asking you for the next hour to not think of offense. Okay? All of the time, 99% of the time, you're all thinking of offense. And I'm trying my hardest to just have you add this extra lens to the way you look at things, the way you look at the future. It's a natural bias. That's why most founders suck at answering this question, because it's not something that's really top of mind, not something that we sit and think about, because it often comes up really late, often too late, when we're asked about it. So, how can I prevent my customers from switching? Switching cost is a big one. Any camera aficionados? Any photographers here? No photographers? Oh God, no switching costs with iPhone, other than you being like a slave of the Apple ecosystem, as I am. But I've got an Olympus camera at home. So these micro 4/3 cameras, there's a specific lens that works with them. If I was to switch to Canon, Nikon, my lenses, I have to throw them away. If I'm switching from Canon to Nikon, there are these adapters I can buy and install. the price of that adapter, that adapter is the physical embodiment of a switching cost. I need to pay this much money to switch from here to here. Look at documents. How many Mac users in this room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep your hand up if when you share sheets, you use numbers. Nobody uses numbers. There's a Mac thing called numbers. I know in my, there's this thing called Keynote, there's this thing called numbers. What is the other one? Is it called words? Pages? They should have just stuck with words, you know? They're word, we're words. We have more. You cannot use your fancy Mac stuff, even though like when you first boot up your Mac, it's forced there in your little taskbar, and you have to like remove it and say, hey, this is dumb, because you can't share these documents with anybody else. So there's a cost to being able to use them. There's a friction that you run into. Your friend, or if you're presenting here in Taqadam in demo day and you share a pages or a keynote file with Maryam, you will get an email immediately back saying, what the hell are you on? Give me a normal, proper PowerPoint file, because that's what everybody else is using. If you're switching from, like Facebook video made a big push a couple of years ago to get users from YouTube, they couldn't. Because if I switch from YouTube to Facebook video, if I switch from Twitch to any other live streaming platform, I lose my followers, my streamers, my influence, everything goes. There's a cost. Most people are not willing to pay it. Companies paid Ninja and all of these esports personalities millions to get them to do it. Joe Rogan got Joe Rogan. I just left in the parking and somebody was blaring the Joe Rogan podcast at full volume. Was paid a lot of money to be exclusive. There's a cost that they had to pay for him to be on Spotify. This is Phil Spencer. He's the head of Microsoft Gaming. And he admitted failure, something that public company CEOs don't do very often. We lost the worst console generation, the Xbox One. Any gamers in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I try to notice the trend over time, and slowly it's increasing, thankfully. Why was this generation especially devastating to lose? What happened? When we first bought our Super Nintendo and we were fighting between Nintendo versus Sega, you're like, do I like Sonic? Do I like Mario? Do I want Street Fighter? Do I want Virtua Fighter? It was a simple discussion. It was a debate on that generation. And then we go one generation up. We get the PlayStation 1, we get the Nintendo 64, and we're debating, like, do I want Zelda? Do I want Metal Gear Solid? Crash? We're debating that generation. You go one generation up, we have the GameCube. We have the Dreamcast. We're debating with our friends. Hey, do you want to play Halo or do you want to play the whatever PlayStation 2 games, Devil May Cry, whatever. But when it came to this generation, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox One, something changed. Online. It's not just online. It's online. What changes? Cross-platform, community, my friends, if it's so much hard work to add my friends list, in these games. No, that's not it. Why? That's the key question. Libraries. All of your games are on a library. You have all of these games that you bought on a hard disk. They're stored. Whenever you want to play them, you can press a button and play them. These are games you paid for. You buy the other console, all of those games that you spend money on are inaccessible. Suddenly, I feel this loss. Yeah, they're removing the discs. You know, you want to pay $700 for a new PlayStation? Yeah. What was it? Backwards compatibility. Like, but it's just a matter of ease. Like mentally, yes, you could go and unplug the device, but you could always think of that. But when it became like a button, when you bought it online and it was there, suddenly it changed the nature of the relationship. That's why like people saw that, oh wow, like it didn't like it was a new battle every time. But ever since then, it's different. The winners are hard to displace. What was Xbox's answer to this? How did they try to respond? Subscriptions. They tried to say, hey, we're going to go with the Netflix approach, subscribe to Game Pass. I don't care how many games you have. You don't need to care. Just pay the subscription and have access to all the games you want. Still hasn't worked out fully, but that's what they're trying. They're trying the whole PC cross-platform thing. That's the whole ecosystem approach. But it actually kind of worked out in the opposite way because you're fighting against Steam, right? So there's an incumbent. The tech is bad on PC. Oh, the Xbox. I mean, yeah.
It's not a good thing. Not good experience.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like if you were to tell me like, hey, I just want my kids, my family to have a game they can play, I'll suggest Xbox with a Game Pass because hey, it's the cheapest thing. You don't need to buy a new game every time. Like if it's on Game Pass, you can play it. If it's not on Game Pass, tough. Maybe in Eid, you know, I'll get you something. But suddenly there were no switching costs. Switching costs came. They didn't know ahead of time that it would be this big of an effect. Suddenly it existed, but it shows you the power. I think PlayStation's at like what, 70% console penetration by now? Even though they're fighting against Microsoft, one of the largest, most well-funded, capitalized companies in the world. But switching costs is powerful. How many of you guys type for a living? We type, we respond to emails. Yet, you all use what is objectively known as the worst way to type. QWERTY. It's terrible. It was engineered to slow down your typing. Yet, if I told you, hey, use Dvorak, you will increase your typing speed, your productivity. This is what you do every day for hours. Here, I paid money and I took your laptop without your permission and I rearranged the keyboard just for you. Aren't I a good friend? You're gonna hit me in the head with something and say, please change it back. Because there's this friction. When you sit in front of the keyboard and you're typing and the letters aren't where you're used to, it's like, that feeling of unfamiliarity is killer. Even though, objectively, it is better. All of us are using an inferior product because of the switching cost. Shows you the power. Also, shows you that the best product doesn't always win. So telling me that our product's better, but I don't care because it doesn't always apply. Prove to me that when it's better, it makes a measurable difference. And it's hard to replicate how much better you are. Then we've got something that we can talk about. It makes what? Makes a measurable difference. Are you using Dvorak? Okay. I tried it, but this week of feeling, 1 week of feeling uncomfortable and mistyping stuff. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you would have to rebind all the shortcuts. So much work, going into a menu and rebinding shortcuts. It does. And this was engineered so you don't type too quick, right? Because they don't want the, because typewriters would get jammed if you type too quickly. So they made sure to, exactly, they made sure to engineer it so that it is the slowest possible way for you to type. So that the typewriter wouldn't jam. Yeah. The coders, all have their nice debates about, what is the right one to use and which different layout. And, it's, yes. Because if people were logical, this would not be the case. And I use this example because it shows that all of you here are illogical. Yeah. Exactly. So do you know the quote, the customer is always right? Do you know that that's an incomplete quote? It's incomplete. Do you know the customer is always right? Do you know the full quote? The customer is always right in matters of taste. So even if they're wearing the worst fashion and they think it looks great, it is right. But they're not right in terms of supply chain, in terms of execution, in terms of everything else. They're not right. But people like to pick out that one sentence and ignore the second half of the quote. The reverse. The story is Steve Jobs came back to Apple, made the iPod, changed the world. Not fully accurate. Steve Jobs came back to Apple, pushed the iPod, was ignored for a bit, changed something, then succeeded. When the iPod was first launched, it would only work with Macs. How dare I let these unclean PCs connect to my device? No, 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 no. Only Mac users get access to this. You've got your PC, you've got a 90% market share. This is the turn of the millennium. 2001, this thing gets launched. Because you want to listen to music, you're going to change your entire workstation? No. He had to reduce the switching cost in order to get the customers back. This can easily blow back in your face. Switching cost is a two-sided sword. If you make it too high, customers will reject. You are trying to reduce the switching cost from your from your competitor to you. Anybody switching from iPhone to Android or the reverse? Why do they have the apps? Why do they have the cables? Why do they try to make it as easy as possible? They want to make sure that that wall goes down. I used to, at this point, make fun of Apple users, but I can't now, so. My team always makes fun of me. For years, I was the anti-Apple crusader. I was like, oh, you guys are so easily milked. Your average revenue per Apple customer is so high. You guys love paying for stuff. That's why people love building for you, because you're the most gullible audience. And then suddenly I'm locked in. And the thing that keeps me on the Apple side is the wallet. I don't want to carry a wallet. And nothing else works as well. I'm stuck. So the switching cost at a little time. Yeah, carrying an extra thing in my pocket. Oh, the humanity. It's tough. So we talked about switching cost. Who here likes gum? Bubble gum. Who likes gum? You like gum? What's your favorite flavor? Mint. Peppermint, spearmint? Peppermint. When you go to the gum factory, are they grabbing peppermint from the vine and smushing it into your individual package of gum? No? I mean, then where's the minty flavor coming from? How do they make the mint? Where's the mint? The plant? It's chemicals. I mean, everything's chemicals. We're chemicals. Let's look at the chemicals in this little Wrigley's gum. We have sorbitol, we have gum base, we have glycerol, we have less than 2% of hydrogenated starch, hydrosolate, natural artificial flavors, aspartame, mannitol. I'm not going to pronounce the rest. What the hell is this? Is there something in nature that is called a natural artificial flavor? Is there like a chemical? Is it in the chemical table? Is it something says natural artificial flavors? Then what the hell is it? What are the flavors made of? Why aren't they disclosed? Bugs. No, that's the food coloring is bugs, the red food coloring. The beetles. If you like crab cakes, you go to your favorite sushi place, then there's a non-zero chance you've had beetles. These are trade secrets. Eat sushi for breakfast? I mean, the sushi here is only of the finest quality. You are safe and sound, my friend. Just don't think about it. Hakuna Matata. Trade secrets. Coca-Cola, Al-Bake. Nobody knows what's in it. It's not a patent. The 11 herbs and spices. If you want to license a flavor, you don't buy it, you license it. You go to these specialty flavor designers. They have over 300 flavors of chocolate. And they can customize whatever you want. This is in every product. French fries, salmon, most McDonald's products, there's a reason it is so repeatable. You don't ask for, oh, I like it bitter or sweet. That's not good enough. Flavors for them are like musical notes. It begins like this, it rises, you reach a high, and then just before they're satisfied, it goes down. So you throw the gum away and take another stick. It's engineered. Nobody knows what's in that formulation except the company. They license it to you, and you can ask for an exclusive license. Nobody else gets this flavor but me. Same with scent. There's a lot of hotels and casinos that will license a specific aroma that is only for them. Trade secrets. There isn't a patent out there that says this is how we make this, these are the exact ingredients, because then it would be very expensive to retain this. So trade secrets are powerful because they're relatively cheap. They are applicable in things that we can't patent, so things that are naturally occurring, for example, things that require a lot of trial and error, a lot of formulation, we use trade secrets. Other example, in this case, is overdone. Fujifilm and Kodak. Everybody talks about, oh, it's a failure of innovation. Kodak had the digital camera, but they never developed it. They never licensed it. Thank you. But that's not the case. The case was on how the companies defended themselves, right? They both were leaders in chemicals. They both were leaders in photography. They were both leaders in processing. Kodak focused on, we are a photography company, whereas Fujifilm used their IP, their trade secrets, their know-how, pivoted to other industries. Use that same knowledge of how do we protect film to protect your skin, protect materials from oxidation. Use that same knowledge of imaging and scanning for X-rays and other materials. So they pivoted based on what was valuable, not we are a photography company, and if it's digital, we'll do digital. Wyakit is another local example. They have their own formulation, their own enzymes, their own mix, trade secret. What's this? Fidget spinner. How much? Just the patent. How much money did just the patent of the fidget spinner make? 10 billion? That's a lot of fidget spinners. Zero. 1 million? All right. Well, maybe the Chinese kind of screwed her. You know, they didn't pay for any patent or anything. Zero. She made zero money. She filed for a license, I think it was in 1994, and it was granted in 1997. She was talking to Hasbro, the toy company, to try to get a deal done. Ultimately, that deal kind of fell through. In 2004, she didn't want to pay the renewal fee for the patent, so she let it expire. Same with Wi-Fi. There's a lot of these stories of letting patents expire because, hey, you know, I paid my lawyer a lot of money. I keep paying every year. I'm not seeing anything come out of it. And this is where everybody's like, oh, haram. If only she waited like just a few more years, she could have seen that money back. You know, this poor kind of, you know, mom and pop place that's trying to get by. But even then, that wouldn't have been the case. When did fidget spinners become popular? 2014, 2013, 10 years ago. COVID, the COVID mind blank. How long do patents last? 20 years. So it would have expired as it was getting popular. So patents are sometimes helpful, not always. Patents are double-edged. So she also did a crowdfunding campaign. The original fidget spinner used her granddaughter as a prop, but didn't succeed. I like to depress people with this story. She couldn't close it. So when it's not fully closed, the goal was 24K. Sadly, not enough people. Patents are brutal for a couple of reasons. A, they're expensive. You need good strategy. You need to pick which countries you're going to license your patent in. So you're going to file your patent in. And you need to pay a lawyer or lawyers if somebody infringes on your patents. All very expensive stuff. If you are from a university and that university has the patent, and then they at least pay for the lawyers, so at least that piece is covered. This is not a case that many of you guys are facing, so I'm going to skip over this. But just so you know, if your defense is, we have a patent, moving on, you think that addresses it, not always good enough. It depends on what kind of patent you have, what the, you know, how much better is it than the next best patent out there? What is the delta between those two? Then finally, we come back to your answer, network effects. The value of a telephone when you only have one is zero. When only one friend has a telephone, it depends on how much you like that friend. And on and on and on. Network effects are tough. They're very, very powerful. Here we use, in the US, I think, what, iMessage primarily. Here we use WhatsApp. In China, they use WeChat. In Japan, they use Line. You can't be the enemy guy every batch. I mean, what, manga? Ah, even more of a purist. What a snob. Looks down at us. Oh, I'm not really. I haven't been an anime guy for a while, but I'll catch up. My team knows that if it's a really boring meeting, I might read a manga. It's very silent. WhatsApp, WeChat, and Line. One of these is not like the others. One of these is not as well funded. One of these is substantially less funded than the others. Yet, it is really, really difficult to displace Line. Because I need to not just move myself, I need to move all of my friends. You guys remember the outrage? WhatsApp is Facebook and everything's monitored. Everybody's going to switch to Telegram or... nope, we're all stuck there. Twitter sucks. I hate what the platform is like. I can't unsee Elon Musk's posts. we're all going to switch to Blue Sky or Threads or whatever. No, everybody's still there. Because network effects are really, really, really tough to displace. The difference in network effects isn't just that they exist, but they have different types. Both of these are network effects. Which is more powerful? Uber is more powerful than Airbnb as a network, more defensible, let's say. Why? Because we use it every day. What else?
Root density network effect.
Uber?
Yes.
Because it's a network effect?
Root density network effect.
The density of the network effect.
Yes.
Okay. Geographical density.
Like all the alternatives.
Because they killed all the alternatives. Okay. When I travel to Tunis, can't use Uber. I have to use Free Now. If I go to China, can't use Uber. If I go to Russia, can't use Uber. If in Russia, Yandex, but there's a better alternative out there. Like if I use Yandex Taxi, or yeah, but who sold to who? Exactly. So they lost. In several markets, we saw Uber losing. Yet if I'm staying in Georgia, Airbnb works. If I'm staying in Saudi, Airbnb works. If I'm staying anywhere, Airbnb works. Why? Anybody can be a driver. So there's more supply. Okay. But anybody can be host. You know, even if you have a little hole in the ground, you can say, hey, you know, artisanal, comfy, cozy hole in a very organic bed of dust and soil.
Like for me, if I get to choose a house from Booking.com or Airbnb, I'll do it from Airbnb because I know that they have a policy for the quality of the house that I'm gonna use. So I'm secure of that kind. So whenever I go, I know that they have the quality I'm looking for.
Okay. So you clearly have had a bad Airbnb experience.
So, yeah. No, I have a really bad story with Airbnb. It was on my honeymoon. So I booked 2 Airbnbs. They were supposed to be like these oh my God, villas or whatever. Exactly. So when I booked it, they made me pay 50%. And that card got scammed and I had to cancel it. And I forgot about it. And then when we arrived, they canceled our bookings because they didn't take the other 50%. Sorry? No, but no one informed us. But at the end, with customer service, all of that, they gave us the credit back. So it's not very reliable in terms of hotels. Like if something happens with you with the hotel, it's different.
I mean, I've been turned back from hotels. Oh, you know, the booking, this is from Expedia, show me. Oh, I'm not. Unfortunately, we're really full. Like, we're really sorry. Hopefully, like, there's a homeless guy right out front. He's got space in his little cardboard thing, you know. Difference in network effects. They both are network effects companies. But the difference is the scale of the network effects. So Uber, city by city. I need to have enough local riders for enough local drivers. Localized network. Airbnb, I need a global supply. My customers are travelers. They want to find a place in Hong Kong. They want to find a place in Pennsylvania. They want to find a place everywhere. So it's harder to go from zero to Airbnb level of inventory quickly.
Yeah, isn't it also because of the ecosystem that is built around it, like Uber Eats, all of those, like we use it frequently. I mean,
So
there's,
I love that you guys, a couple of you used frequency, used the level of operations. Those are all very offense linked things. Frequency means you make more money per customer, not that you can't replicate that service. It shows how hard it is for you guys to stop thinking in terms of offense and defense. Because you keep going into, no, the Uber model is really great because like I want to be frequently seen by my customers. I want them to keep checking and I can offer them more products. I can build more stuff on top. Offense.
yeah, I'm just referring to your slide just right before this one where you said the more people using a service or product, the better it becomes.
Okay.
So just
perfect.
It might not be true, but
No,
just like
so true. Some services. But when you ride an Uber, do you care how many other people are riding an Uber? No. Network effects comes in where? Where do you feel the network effect with Uber? You're at the airport. You waiting time. Like you notice, I open Kareem, it's 3 minutes. I open Uber, it's 5 minutes. I'm going to use Kareem. There's zero loyalty. Just I need the most amount of drivers who will get this. Network effect is just insurmountable power to drive waiting time down because they found that if like Uber, if you ask people, what is more powerful, drivers versus riders? Drivers 100%. They realized for every minute of waiting time they could reduce, it was better than any marketing spend they could take. It was a waste of time to market to customers. All of those dollars were shifted to marketing for drivers because that's what really drove the needle. But what I'm not saying that either of these are bad businesses. These are both great businesses. But in terms of replicating, if I gave you the task of go find me global inventory, every country in the world, get me people who will host other people, it will take you more time to replicate that same level of service because variety. Versus selling you, hey, in Jeddah, can you recreate the same level of service of speed of Uber? Suddenly it's much more manageable. A lot of people like to bring up Cayenne. Oh, hey, Abdulrahman, did you hear the Cayenne podcast? Yeah, I heard it. Interesting. But when I look at that, it is a commoditization of the Uber model. They're saying in markets where Uber doesn't exist, I'm going to shift it from like a 20% marketplace tax to say, hey, you're driving, pay me $1 a week or something. I don't know, it's some ridiculous low number. I don't care about whatever profit you make over it. Keep everything else. I don't care. They kind of drove it down to its bare minimum. It's not going to have venture-like returns. It's not going to be as profitable as Uber for investors, but for those drivers, for that community, perfect. For those individual founders, great business. Doesn't quite work for markets where Uber has a foothold because people aren't willing to wait longer. But if it's a market, city that doesn't have it, suddenly you have that power. So different, even though they look similar, network effects differ. They differ by size, by scale, by nature, by which one of the network is stronger. The language you use to differentiate your network effect has to change. If you're a marketplace, you need to answer a couple of different things in terms of defensibility. How are you going to prevent disintermediation? Every single marketplace founder will get asked this question. Disintermediation happens when there's significant communication needs to go on between you and the person providing the service. If I'm working with a tutor for my son, once I use the app the first time, I can have come to an agreement with that tutor, and suddenly you're cut out of the loop. I will use loyalty. Okay, prove to me that that works. Also, if you're a marketplace, are you scaling by geo? Are you scaling by customer type? Are you scaling by kind of product? Walk me through how you build it. Oftentimes, there's a whole chicken and egg with network effects models, especially marketplaces. You can create an artificially high level of service by focusing on a specific kind of customer. Maybe that customer is in a neighborhood. Maybe that customer is in a specific job type.
Yes. What about solving a specific issue for that specific customer, and that's how you're keeping them with you? Like, for example, for us, the marketplace-ish part of our business is for therapists. The only way why they're staying with us is because we're preventing parents from canceling on them at the last minute because they're paying in advance for that session.
Okay. Why?
Why what?
Why are you able to offer this that nobody else is able to do it?
Because every other competitor that exists is making the therapist pay for that service. We're making the therapist get paid and then pay us.
But if this is working, and I say, oh, I love this flow that they're using, and I forward this, hey guys, I recorded me logging in and using their service. A couple of therapists mentioned that this was a nice thing. Can you guys do this? What prevents them from doing that? That's the piece where we talk about defensibility. How easy is this to copy? Yes, you've got a great user flow, but people can immediately mimic it. That's what we're trying to understand. Like, some insights will give you an advantage, they'll give you a good boost in growth, and that might help you get a lot of therapists, and then allow you to compound eventually to a major network. And that might become what makes you defensible. So you got hacks in the beginning, but those are hacks that allow you to punch above your weight class in terms of your competition. SaaS, slightly different. If you're a SaaS business, sometimes they invent their own lingo. So Salesforce, for example, becomes almost a cult. They go to Dreamforce and like you're freaked out. I don't know if you guys saw like John Mulaney. I think he was a comedian that went to Dreamforce and just mercilessly made fun of Silicon Valley tech bros for his entire set. They paid him a lot of money, and I think he insulted them to a level they did not expect. So if anybody's up for a laugh, you can kind of listen to that one. That happened a few weeks ago. And what was it? One of his jokes was, I think, yeah, if AI is going to replace us, I can see it because you guys all feel very replaceable. So it's like, it was a bit too on the nose. But they create certifications. Suddenly your software becomes a career path. You have this license, you have this level, you know this language, you can get these jobs just because you know their thing. So creating an ecosystem around your SaaS product. Like Notion, yeah, like you share your template, it's a whole business. You create a template, everybody who has that specific same thing wants to download, you can make money, similar to what you guys are doing in terms of mods. You're trying to create a language, you're trying to create training, such that when I'm using your tool, if I switch to anything else, I feel there's a learning curve. Like, oh God, I have to figure this out. Not always insurmountable. Adobe and Figma obviously evoke that. But these things change. So we've been talking about like, oh, switching costs, oh, trade secret, oh, patents. What you start with today doesn't have to be where you end up in the future. So it's fine to have bridges. Some of these defensibility options have an expiry date. That's okay. Don't get too defensive. No, it'll always be good. It's fine. Time changes.
A lot of time to reach to a defensible business model, let's put it that way.
Okay.
I was just going to say, how credible an argument is the fact that you can prove the size of your market and therefore you can work along and have competitors? So it's not a bad thing that you have competitors that are doing what you're doing. The market's big enough for all of us. I mean, I've heard it different ways.
I call that the teddy bear defense, you know? It's like, oh, there's room enough for all of us, you know? There's a huge market. I love those guys. They have an incredible product, you know? If I didn't start the startup, I'd be working there. Like, you know, you should consider investing in both of us. You know, they're not saying such nice things about you. So I would, it feels like a dodge. When somebody says that, the market's, I know. For the sake of argument, I play it up. I play it up. I exaggerate. But whenever somebody answers that, they think they've given a good answer, but I'm like, you know what? You're just wasting my time. Like, I asked you a specific question to help me understand the market and position things, and your answer is basically kumbaya. Come on. Like, let's do something better. Your question was, if it takes a while, how credible is that? It's going to take a while. There are businesses that do that. Biotech takes a while. Lots of IP, but it takes time. The investors in that space understand that time constraints. Their investment is built around it. It's a problem if you don't understand how much time it takes. Like when you talk to biotech founders, my main concern is when they don't realize the timelines, and that hasn't been taken into effect when they're raising. Because I know, like, oh, these guys don't realize how much money they need a year from now. Enterprise sales, I sometimes look at their business model. I'm like, these guys have no idea how expensive growth is going to be. Because in the beginning, it feels easy. You're going to your lowest hanging fruit and you're plucking. These are the customers that are most desperate for a solution. At some point, you tapped all of them. And now you have to sell an iPhone not to your little brother who's following Apple for years. You have to sell it to your mother who just wants something that works. Much harder sell. This has bigger buttons. It won't bug out when you call me with it. And you won't have to call me as much for helping you with taking photos. It's a different customer segment. And even then, when you show them these things, they're like, okay. It's not the same level of excitement. They're not as valuable. So as we're walking through that, I'm like, oh, these guys have no idea how expensive this is. So if you know how expensive it is, and you've benchmarked it, it's fine. How much time did it take for LinkedIn to be profitable? How much time did it take all of these platforms to reach profitability? It took a while, but they were able to attract funding because ultimately, like if today you're trying to compete with LinkedIn, good luck. Who else wants to court the same community of boring posters who make everything an inspirational quote, right? Like nobody wants that. People survive LinkedIn. They don't, you know. And now it's bot infested. Good luck fixing that. All of these changed. What was Google's defensibility when they first launched? The what? Advertising? No. Algorithm. Defense. Their PageRank algorithm it was an IP, it was patented. They had a patent. But now it's no longer the patent. There's a lot. There's their servers, their data, their infrastructure. They're the first port of call. They have a lot of information. Now that's suddenly being challenged by Perplexity and these new LLMs, but still, they have a huge advantage. Facebook. What made them defensible? Network. They didn't have a network when they first started. It was exclusive. They had a lot of users, but they weren't defensible. It was an interesting user flow. People spent a lot of time. They had attention, sustained attention. People were just hours on Facebook. It then became a network. The what? Yowtech? Yahoo. Oh God, yeah. Man, if anybody is feeling bad about their life, just read the history of Yahoo. You feel better. It's like, you know what? Life isn't so bad. I did not say no. Yeah. Like, God, this 1 billion, that's expensive, man. Like, Google, 1 billion? Are you kidding me? No way. No, I think the first time was even less than 1 billion. Yeah, it was 1 million the first time, but then they had another chance at 1 billion, and they said no twice. It is so incredible. And I think the Google, Google Plus, the circles and all
Yeah,
that.
the Google Plus, but that also didn't work.
Yeah.
So I had a use case because I was active user at Google Plus. So the main reason that differentiated me, because me as a female user, I was seeing like some random people, they are like giving like creepy comments on my pictures. But for Facebook, it was like friends only. So, you know, like it made me like I deleted my account, my sister as well, because like it started coming like aged people, they're like giving creepy comments. But it wasn't the case for the Facebook, as like it was like friends only, and they were allowed to see the pictures. So could make some public, some private.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
think it's the same problem with threads. It's like people who are typically on Instagram, who are used to making visual content, suddenly have to write, and they're really bad at writing. So like you get the kind of the sludge content basically. HP. You have a question?
If you want
Yeah.
after this, yeah. So, I think I'd love to understand more or hear your thoughts on why, like you see some companies that are first to market, but like Facebook wasn't first to market, Google wasn't first to market, and LinkedIn wasn't first to market. Like Reid Hoffman was traveling, he left his travels, went back to Silicon Valley because they told him another company was doing like Friendster for work or something like this. And so these companies, I think it's a combination of different things, but I'd love to hear because I think it's underrated. People don't emphasize enough how effective it is who you take money from. Like
So-
Stripe.
Yes and no. So I think this is not much of a defensibility question as it is a market timing question, which would be a separate segment on what timings that people get right, what people get wrong, and why. Everybody likes to postulate like, oh, AI now, VR before, blockchain before that. Like everybody had their time in the sun, and you know we get a bunch of these false starts. I don't. I'm not. I'm somebody who's a bit. I'm not sure if you guys picked this up, but I'm a little bit pessimistic. Just a little bit. Just a hair. Just a hair. All these negatives. You know. But I don't credit saying, oh, you know, this person came and made a great company. This person was there at the right time. And they understood the wave better, they understood the timing better, but they understood the motions. And one of the great quotes I like, so everybody's got like, I think most people have kind of gone through the Walter Isaacson, Steve Jobs book. I actually don't like that book a lot. There's another book called Understanding Steve Jobs by one of the guys, I think he was the tech editor for Newsweek, and he'd known Jobs for years. He wasn't hired by him to write his bio. And he was interviewing them, and when he looked at his notes when Jobs just came back to Apple, he asked them like, what's the strategy? And his answer was, I'm going to wait for the next big thing. So even that person understands that what is the timing, what's coming, and what is that wave that I'm going to capture. So it always stuck with me of that sentence. It's not what we imagine. Everybody I talk to is like, no, he created the market. He came in and just paved and made an iPhone, and suddenly the seas parted with two giant iPhones. Like, no, it's not the case. Now, who has a printer at home? This is a scam? Thank you. Have you used it?
I wanted to buy a printer because I was like, for years, I was a corporate worker. So I was printing like at the office, etc. And suddenly I recognized they made it like a subscription to print like like it should be illegal.
You know, I'm not going to charge you for the printer. I'm going to charge you per page. Hey, if your toner goes down, we'll automatically ship you toner. And if you're a heavy user, you can just buy this subscription. You know, for a small business, you can print 700 pages. Don't need to worry about anything else. Just buy our printer, buy the subscription. No, it's like if you paid 10 pages, but you print more than 10 pages, you pay an extra $1 for every 10 pages on top of it. So it's kind of like cloud pricing. You know, all of you guys love paying your cloud providers, right? You know, it's the same model, but for paper. Cloud print. You know, yeah. You pay for the paper, but the ink comes to you. Like HP is not in the paper business. We'll give you ink as a subscription. You buy the printer, but it's a very cheap printer. It's very cheap printer. And the toner automatically, like you don't have to go for the place and find. It's because we love to recycle our printer cartridges. So we'll pick them up from you and make sure they're recycled. You're being environmentally friendly. We have a huge global network of HP customer service guys who are going to help do this. Now, people were upset. Like you were, people were very upset with this. They're like, I don't want to subscribe. So HP said, fine, we'll allow you guys to use the printers you bought because we're such nice people. We'll change our pricing mechanism. We'll allow you 15 pages per month free. Aren't we good? Should we get the Nobel Peace Prize? We made it free. So you get your 15 pages and you can stop complaining. If you print more than 15 pages, if you print 16, you better pay at least $1. Come on. Come on, just $1 for your, your old friend HP. We've been there for you thick and thin all your life, printing for you. All those school assignments, all that last minute stuff. Haven't we been there? Haven't we earned that trust? Exactly. Equality. We don't see color. What, 3 months ago, it was disclosed. It was discontinued. This thing is shut down. So people hated it. People who bought a printer were told, here you go, you get 6 months free subscription. Here's your toner, here's your printer, you get this starter kit. Some of them don't print a lot, but 6 months comes around, they're like, you know what, I don't want to pay for the subscription. I'm not printing a lot. The kids aren't using it. It's mainly for their schoolwork. They get an email saying, hey, your printer is deactivated. You cannot print. I know there's printer there. I know there's toner there. You cannot use it because you need an active subscription and your printer needs to be connected to the internet in order to use HP Instant Print. So enjoy your paperweight, unless you want to resubscribe. Old friend HP.
I think this model can be succeed if it's managed service. For example, if HP or distributor, they will be taking care of the printer, taking care of the paper, taking care of the maintenance. I will take care for the electricity bill, yeah, right? And let's say monthly subscription. This can be a little bit succeed. But with that,
why did HP do this? It's because they tried to use the same logic in their enterprise sales as they did in their consumer sales. This is the problem of a bad defense, of packaging something because you overestimate your network, you overestimate your reliability, you overestimate customer behavior. This is a good cautionary tale. Beware. You wouldn't use this? You would. Great. There's a great second-hand market. I'm serious. You cannot buy this now, but if you have an existing printer, trust me, there are thousands of people all over the world that are begging to sell these printers. So you will find a steal. I'm serious. Great. You'll still have to be at home to print. This doesn't geographically change you. Oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, yeah. You like they were imagining you when they were making this product. They're like, they have this picture of Hussein, hearts around it. I'm sure everybody in the world is just as nice as Hussein. They're not mean like this lady over here. €3. Look, this is for 50 pages. You go above 50 pages, you pay extra, man. I don't care. You've got a book report, not my business. The concept, Of course. It was an overestimation of the market. It was an overestimation of customer behavior. A lot of people who bought printers at home were not printing regularly. There were some people who were maximizing the use of their cloud bill, but most people were not. And a lot of people hate how many things they have to subscribe to. And the most offensive piece was that your printer at home that has ink inside it is deactivated because you removed your credit card from their website. Oh, you want to pay us? Okay. Enjoy your printer. Thank you. So offensive. Hurt a lot of customers. I want to take a quick 10-minute break before we do like the last 20 minutes to wrap this up. Okay? Yeah. The power of the bell compels you. The power of the bell compels you. The power of the bell compels you. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Exactly. This is what I like. You're all very sweet people. You can return to being nice people after the session is done. For now, you are brutal, high-powered defense attorneys. All right. Any smart home enthusiasts? And you're sitting there kind of daring me. Oh yeah? Try telling me again to sit at the front. So I saw a couple of hands go up. Who went up? 1, 2. What do you have at home? Every single ecosystem, like a Google Home and an Apple Home Kit there, and every single ecosystem combined. The Google Home. Oh, wow. Everything. This is how I make my kids fluent. They have multiple personalities. I'm tired of talking to Siri, Dad. Well, have you talked to Gemini recently? Like, Gemini is really lonely. Okay. When you have your home kind of all smart and connected, what do you use for lights? What are you using? Philips, you've got the Philips Hue. Controlful, Apple Home. What about the ACs? What do you use? Air conditioners, thermostats. Nest. Nest is pretty powerful. I want to talk a little bit about Nest. Interesting case of a defensibility model evolving with time. What does Nest do for those that are uninitiated? What the hell is a Nest? Who can shine a light on Nest?
It's a connected thermostat that allows you to basically control your AC automatically. Either it's like self-learning, right? So it like just understands the patterns of the usage of the AC, and then ideally, in an ideal situation, it just without any manual settings, it turns on the AC when it's needed, turns it off when nobody's at home, and it self-adjusts. At least that was the value proposition.
So you don't set parameters. You don't sit with the Nest app and say, hey, in the morning, do this, in the evening. No, just buy it, adjust it. It'll notice what you're doing and will learn how you like the temperature when. Simple. Nest had a very simple business model. Make device, sell device, install device. Life is easy. Well, not quite, because the first few Nests, people hated the installation. It took over an hour for the customer who was unfamiliar to kind of install the Nest device. So they had to make a little bit of an adjustment. They sent you a Nest screwdriver so that you have all the equipment and you're able to do it in minutes instead of hours. After that, Nest started to succeed, became one of the easiest ones to install and started to spread around. So initially, the business model looks very simple. Make a device that's great, that learns people's habits, and give it to them. Eventually, with time, that business model also evolved a bit. If you have the power to control an entire city, an entire country's air conditioners, what can you do with that power? Who would kill to have that power? Google? Maybe. Google did pay 3 billion. Energy companies. Why? They get to save on load.
Load.
Sorry? Energy companies hate
Losing money. Ah, yes.
if demand fluctuates. Either I'm over or underutilizing. It's a blackout. Under, it's wasted assets, and I have to tap into my other generators, which aren't as efficient, that cost me more money to deliver the same level of service. So Nest ended up partnering with utility companies.
Your energy provider dreads hot days. Everyone turns on the air conditioning at once, creating an energy rush hour. And that can cause rolling blackouts and outages. U.S. energy companies spend over $3 billion a year to avoid these outages. So to reduce demand during energy rush hours, they'll just pay you to use less energy. But taking advantage of those incentives isn't easy or comfortable. So Rush Hour Rewards helps you earn the biggest rewards automatically. It'll take everything Nest has learned about how to keep you comfortable and combine it with data from your energy provider. Here's how Rush Hour Rewards works. Rush hours only happen on weekday afternoons. We'll let you know one's coming the night before. Let's say there's a rush hour from 2 to 6 p.m. Usually you'd leave the AC on the whole time and use a lot of energy. With Rush Hour Rewards, Nest will cool your house down before the rush hour. Next, it'll use just enough energy to keep you comfortable. Then take you back to your regular schedule after the rush hour is over. That'll help your energy provider avoid outages, and they'll thank you with rewards. How much you can earn depends on your energy provider and the weather, but no matter what, you're always in control. You can change the temperature at any time. Rush Hour Rewards is available to customers of our energy partners. See how much you can earn.
If you were asleep, you suddenly had a very interesting dream. Sound from above telling you about rush hours. So if we look at Nest, what happens? These programs existed for a long time, but suddenly adherence was easy. It was automatic. You were able to take advantage of these savings. They struck deals with energy companies. This was not done out of the goodness of their heart. If you're able to help people manage load, you're preventing a lot of blackouts, you're saving them a lot of money. To the extent that some utility companies actually worked with Nest to offer Nests for free for people who were going to stick to the program. So the reason I bring this up is you kind of see the evolution over time. When the product first released, there's a bit of a switching cost. You have a Nest, like why would you buy something else? The Nest kind of learned your preferences, so you would have to teach something else, so there's the data element. But then out of all of this, when you have a lot of Nests around, suddenly the network becomes a product, and you have to compete with a good product that has a switching cost, that has adapted to customers, that is also sometimes free. So suddenly it becomes a much more expensive proposition to convince people to switch. So where you start and how you eventually build and build and build makes a huge effect. That's the story I want you guys to tell. Where are you today? Where could you be? What could you be building? Will it change? Yes. I'd rather you tell me, this is what we're gonna do. and be wrong than to tell me, well, I'm not sure, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. No, like you need to be certain. It's okay to be wrong, but say it with full confidence, the full oomph, and be willing to change and adapt over time. Do not run away from this question. Now, oh, I think it's here. Thank you. This is more of a 500 example from our Southeast Asia fund. So it's a company called eFishery. eFishery creates automated fish feeding dispensaries. So it helps you feed the fish in your fish farm. How does it know when to feed the fish? Acoustic. Listens to them. That allows people to save a lot of money because most of the time in the fish farm, they're kind of just guesstimating again. They're hungry. Is it now? Is it an hour from now? I want to go out. How much? Maybe one, maybe two. There's a lot of guesstimation. And 40% of the OPEX of a fish farm is feed. So a significant chunk. Microphone, durable, lasts a while, cheap. SaaS business that doesn't make a lot of money. This is now a unicorn. I think their latest Series D was, what was it? I think $400 million round or something. But that, if you look at how much money they make, it is not the devices. What do they sell? Fish. After a lot of fish farms, I know how much fish they have. I know where they are. I can help them with the fish. If you look at their margins, this product became their lock-in. I have the data. I know how much fish they have. I know what kind of fish they have. Because that data is important for me to tell them what to feed and how much to feed. I can also help them with the sales of the fish. That's where their margins really kick in. That's what makes them really defensible. A lot of people started with the marketplace, but didn't have accurate data because they couldn't scale once they had a lot of farms. Farmers weren't exactly great at sending and uploading and going onto the website and trying to use that as a marketplace. But this became automatic. And that made the company that, like this was the founder, no university, fresh out of high school, but managed to build an incredible company that is the main thing you talk about when you get pitched by any company in the aquaponics space. The question now is you guys, what are you gonna do? So I'm gonna run like a few quick experiments. Uktub, come on. I don't have time to run the full challenge because we only have a few minutes. So here's what I'm going to do. You are going to explain to people what Uktub is. You are going to explain why it's hard to do what you do. And then these guys are going to challenge you and say how they're going to be able to take your lunch, take your customers from you. Okay? So I'll do two. We'll do Uktub and then maybe we'll do one more. I want to see how you guys approach the defense angle as well as how you would disentangle that defense. You were put in a position to eat his lunch. What would you do? This will be fun, quickly, and then we'll wrap up at the end, okay?
Should I touch on defensibility or wait for them to?
So what I'll do is pitch it. I'll have them mention it,
Sure.
then I'll have you rebut.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're a platform that enables businesses to deploy what we call autonomous AI teammates that take on key business functions. They're 95% cheaper, 45 times faster, and deliver superior results. The first teammate that we've released is Raya, and Raya fully automates customer support across all channels. She can respond to phone calls, emails, and chats in an ultra-realistic way in over 50 languages with specialized performance in all Arabic dialects.
All right. AI agents, customer success, sales, and everything else. Who thinks they can take a bite out of this AI hype market share? Come on. Sounds like a good business. You've got an investor. Talk to him after, huh? But give him more expensive terms. I get my commission. Yeah? Yalla.
So
Launch Iqra.
yeah, so we have like 60 e-commerces in our pipeline at the moment, and I feel like if we add this feature to our current software, it will really help our customers really fast. And I mean, we're already in AI. This is generative AI, ChatGPT stuff. So we just connect to OpenAI, Gemini, or whatever stuff it is. We tune it a little bit. It's not really that difficult. And voila, we have a solution, and we will implement it for the first 60 customers that we have for free.
Okay. I have my existing customers. Distribution is more important than the product. I saw another hand go up. Go ahead. Then saw somebody there. Yeah.
So I know that I read the news, I talk to my people at Microsoft and ChatGPT and OpenAI and the Google, and I know that they're also working on such a solution, right? The AI persona or, the AI agents, whatever. It's a big thing, right? So why don't they just wait for another 6 months? It will be just added to my subscription, and already figured out the procurement and integration and the Office 360, et cetera.
All right. Finally.
Yeah, so we are doing live commerce, live and social commerce mainly. And yesterday, actually, we talked to Ahmed, and he proposed something really interesting. Since we do this live service in Arabic, why don't we just add real-time translations with AI? And now I can access the entire globe with one seller that can sell throughout the entire globe with the AI wrapped around it to translate it.
So are you saying you're a customer or you're a competitor? Because I'm not sure.
I'm a competitor. I'm going to use that to translate the language to everything else using these wrappers. It's similar to these customer success agents. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, hey, this is Juicero. I can make the juice too. I can squeeze the language model. I can prompt engineer my way to a similar solution. Your response.
Awesome. Thank you for these comments. Okay, so number one, I'll come back to you. I've forgotten detail what you said, but you mentioned being. So number one is when you want to use these one of these solutions, you are only limited to their what they provide. So for example, Microsoft, if they release an agent, it will never ever be integrated with Gmail. It will only be integrated with Google and a few other tools that they use. Similar thing if Google releases something else. But none of these. I want to make a very important distinction here. There's a difference between a chatbot, an assistant, a co-pilot, an agent, and what we do, which is an autonomous teammate. So a chatbot is simple. It's very basic. An assistant is a bit more complex, like ChatGPT has additional functionality. A co-pilot does some of the work, but you do most of the work. An agent runs fully autonomously without any human intervention. What we do at Uktub is we package different agents together that they become one teammate and they perform the job of typically what a human does today on your team. So that's one thing that differentiates us. So if Google comes out and says we did agents, really look into it, you'll see that's actually an assistant. That's number one. Number two is we have superb dialectal performance, and I get it that some people might say like this is a wrapper, but at the end of the day, everything is a wrapper, right? Like if you use neobanks like WeoBank, it's actually a wrapper around an actual bank. Mercury is a wrapper around Choice Financial Group. Netflix is a wrapper on AWS. It uses Salesforce is a wrapper that it's built on databases. So, but when you come to actually solve the problem, I remember what you said. When you come to actually solve the problem, you will figure out that there is a million other things that you have to do. So let's say you build this, you wrap this around ChatGPT. Who's going to take care of ticketing for you? Who's going to build the 40 or 50 integrations that you need? Who's going to do all of these things for you? So when you come to actually solve the problem, you realize how challenging it is and how many things that you have to do that you can't actually do it on your own. You need someone that's specialized in it. Another thing is that the AI models today are really a commodity. It's not like how it was 5 years ago. OpenAI themselves don't have moats on their actual models. One week, OpenAI is ahead, another week, Anthropic is ahead, another week, Llama is ahead. So what we've done is we built our own LLM router that looks at every single request that comes in and decides which large language model within our infrastructure should handle it. So as a company, when you use us, this allows us to always have the latest and greatest models. This allows us to deliver better performance, lower latency, and lower cost. Yeah, and should I touch on moats over time? How we develop them over time?
I think you answered it. Thank you very much. Thank you. So it's helpful to notice the immediate perception of the market. I'm sure you've answered the wrapper question a lot and are used to kind of fielding that response. I want you to notice what you felt when he was defending, whether you were convinced, you were not convinced, what pieces seemed persuasive, what pieces didn't. Don't just think of the actual fact, think of how that response altered your perception. Okay? How do we respond? Yusuf, let's do Julep next. Come on, cheer the guy on.
Hello, everyone. Julep is an ERP SaaS. We specialize to serve the pharma industry, starting from pharmacies, distribution companies, and some manufacturing. Our modules include procurement, inventory management, point of sale, B2B sales, BI, replenishment, accounting, and integrations that are catered for the industry. Thank you.
All right, so these guys are the Foodix of pharmacies. All these pharmacies are using their system to manage inventory and handle their customers and ERP in general. No, I try to kind of make it addressable for people. I try to use human language. I try, like my algorithm is to de-LinkedIn the pitch. So, who thinks they can take those pharmacies away? Come on.
It's just, why are you so different from, like, why specifically for farm? Because I could just use HubSpot or Salesforce as a pharmacy and
All right, so don't ask questions. Say, I will use HubSpot and build a
I will use
CRM.
HubSpot.
And I will commodify it. I will be the Cayenne for their Uber. I will make this super cheap. I will drill it down to the bottom. Okay.
Okay, so back home, I'm friends with the Ministry of Health and everyone that works in that. So I would build something that is much cheaper, sell it to them, and you wouldn't have how to enter Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco all together.
All right, I can replicate this. The software for creating these systems is not so difficult. A lot of it is widely applicable, and I can recreate a lot of these services relatively quickly if the market is attractive enough.
So first to HubSpot. HubSpot will not work. So that's an easy one. For your Udom. Yeah, if you're Udo in Saudi Arabia, you would need to customize to fit all the requirements for the pharmacies. So you'll spend, let's say, 6 months to do the customizations needed to get to where you are. What? So actual features. So actual features and integration. So minimum you would need 6 months. And then you need to optimize for performance for another 6 months. And then you will need to think of innovative features on how you can differentiate. So that would probably take you another year. So you have like 2 years to 2 to 3 years, depending on your pace and how much you understand the market and how can you convince to get where you are. HubSpot, it's not a solution that fits the requirements because we cover much, much more because we're an ERP. Yeah, so HubSpot, for example, they don't have a POS, they don't have point of sale, they don't have replenishment, so looking at all your inventory and inventory movement and give you a prediction on what you need to order from a procurement cycle. It doesn't have the accounting side. It does not have the integration that you need with the FDA for drug trace and track. So there's much more than marketing services or marketing related workflows. For the Ministry of Health in Tunisia, we can be friends and we can and we can give you good business there. But and you can broker the deal. Yeah, so yeah. So I think when we talk about network effect or ecosystem or attractiveness or so you have two sides of the market. You have the big players, the ERP, SAP, and Oracle. Those are big players. They're trusted names. They're enterprise scale. Those take really long time for you to have the name to be able to compete with them. So that's an attractive proposition and it can generate money from getting subscription from enterprise. And then you have the second side of the market, which are fragmented or smaller players. Those are, you can create network effects, but those take time. So you need to build the position, you need to build the transaction GMV volume, and then slowly add these. So now that we have 3 or 4 years in the market, now we're in a position where we can start building bridges on top of the users that are using the software. So now we have more than $300 million in GMV revenue that goes through the system. So now it's like we can see, we can say, okay, these are the things that we can do and start unlocking things. It will take time, but eventually that will give us the unique advantage and attractiveness to the market. Thank you.
Very much. You have a question?
What is the main added value compared to SAP or any other ERP?
Denied. I need to close this in 4 minutes. We'll talk later. So there's a reason I have you guys. Hi. There's a reason I have you guys challenge them, because that's fine. You kind of are. What's the difference between SAP? I'm not challenging. I'm just asking questions here, you know. Exactly. So let's give Yusuf a thank you. The reason I ask you guys to challenge is to put you in an adversarial mindset, because this is how most investors are thinking. If I was to challenge them, you'd be more on their side. But I need you to kind of hear their response and think, what, do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Why? What was persuasive? What was not? What did you feel like? I'm not sure. This will be more effective if you do it internally with your own teams, with your own know-how of the product, with your own know-how of the customers. So do this exercise. Do red team, blue team. If you were to displace yourself today, what would you do? What will you do with that information? Very helpful, keeps you honest, keeps you focused. We talked about different flavors. I tried to bring as many interesting cases. And because there are some people who attended my session before, I had to add some new case studies just to kind of keep it fresh and keep their energy up. Defensibility is a very, very important lens. It's one that most founders do not think about, do not use. The earlier they are, the worse they are at it. It is one of the easiest ways to distinguish yourself from everybody else, whether it's switching cost, IP, trade secrets, or something else entirely. Just walk me through that story. Challenge yourselves internally, because nobody has the same knowledge of your tech stack, your market, as much as you do. And now you may shower me with your applause. Okay.